Hello, everyone. Harry here to talk once again, I'm afraid, about the burgeoning document. Hate to call it a scandal, but maybe that really is the only word. So, a big article in the Washington Post that is absolutely going to, make the rounds and be very influential with the whole coverage inside the White House strategy, document strategy, and its pitfalls. You can just tell, of course, from the title, which, oh, here's a little aside in case you don't know it. People who write articles don't make the titles. It's a whole different division. And sometimes the columnists, I'm one of them, are chagrined at why did you choose this or that? It doesn't correspond. But anyway, this one does, the White House document strategy and its pitfalls. All right, what is the document strategy that they're talking about? It is that basically the drip as of revelations, meaning first you find it happens in three stages. First, November 2nd, then there is a couple months later a search of that first one was his office at University of Pennsylvania. Then they searched the residence at Wilmington, and then one more, or maybe one document with a few pages more in the same place, and that is the third. And that's what really, I mean, take a step back. There is, other than that, nothing here. Now, I don't mean to trivialize that classified documents, maybe ones that could have, maybe at the time, been dangerous to national security. Very doubtful the way national security moves and the whole world, order and threats move, that something from 2008 would be at all dangerous today. But that aside, okay, that's a problem. It's important to know. We don't really know, but we seem to be learning more and more. It happens a lot. So it's, even the fact of it is not that big a deal, except it raises a policy question. How should we tighten up these constraints? But that's all it is. And it starts out with this, this unfortunate dynamic. I've said it before, so just to repeat, there's this one point of overlap with what Trump did, which is in essence to have purposely taken hundreds of documents, knowing he did it, and then a year and a half of obstruction. All we have is documents wind up not in the White House. That's something to explore, maybe to shore up. But because of the way this has come out, little by little, it has actually assumed the proportions of a scandal. And, what did the White House know, and when did they know it, and why weren't they fully transparent? And there is a poll out today that blew my mind, suggesting that fully a third of the American public, mostly Republicans, but not all, think that Biden should be prosecuted. Take a step back. For what? He literally, Biden himself, except for the response he made to the press, I think literally has done nothing whatsoever in this whole thing, not even an action, right? He's not the one who cleared out the building. There's no reason to think he even knew anything about this. He's done absolutely zero, but because of the dynamic, it's taken on scandalous proportions. Okay, so I've said this before, and I feel what I've said has been very vindicated. We think of the White House, Department of Justice, Biden as an entity. But when there is a whiff of anything sort of criminal or improper, it very much and quickly ceases to be. And you have different constituencies and they are basically antagonistic. So you have the Department of Justice, you have the White House and the representatives of the president, and you have Biden's personal attorneys. All of them are inevitably involved here. And to me, the big takeaway from this long Washington Post article is that the White House plainly tried to play it straight and placate the Department of Justice in contrast to Trump. So, in other words, right away, they wanted to play it by the book. And what does that mean? It means there are the reason mistakes get made or imperfect calculations get made is there are conflicting priorities. On the one hand, the politics and communication folks would say, get everything out, do the whole search, put it all out there, the kind of thing they're being totally crucified for not having done. On the other hand, the possible protocol with DOJ is, wait, don't do anything unless they approve it. Let them go first. Let them give us guidance for what they want. And that is what happened here. The big thrust of the article is they wanted to be totally clean and kosher vis-a-vis the Department of Justice, and not in a kind of we're the White House, we're the boss Trumpian way, but like, okay, you guys are the criminal types, just tell us what to do. And you could say they erred on that side. In any event, they totally prioritized that side, and it didn't work out for them. There was back and forth, time went on. They didn't want to do another search without the Department of Justice saying so, and so there were negotiations. Eventually they do, and they think their expectation, reasonable, since they haven't done anything, and certainly Biden hasn't, is Department of Justice will give it a quick look and will clear them, and that's how they wanted to handle this scandal, or make it not a scandal. Do everything right by the Department of Justice, they'll clear them quickly. And then, surprise, and not a pretty surprise, you have the U.S. Attorney in Chicago going to Merrick Garland and saying, for reasons we still don't quite understand, you need a special counsel here, which is what you need when a criminal investigation is warranted. And then Garland does it. And the part of the report in the Washington Post is the White House is livid about it. They feel that they played it totally by the book, including to their own political detriment, by always keeping their nose clean vis-a-vis the department, and this is what they get for it. So they really get the worst of both worlds. They get a criminal investigation now by a guy who, well, they get a criminal investigation and terrible sort of media coverage that implies that they did it poorly or even dishonestly by having this drip. These are real pros at the Department of Justice, at the White House, starting with Ron Klain, the chief of staff. You just know as a fact, I don't say this as a partisan, just objectively, and I can say I have known Ron Klain, oh my God, 36 years, and 38 years, sorry. They absolutely went to play it straight because that was smart politics, and they get beat up politically, and now the criminal investigation. And on the criminal side, it's clear the policy of the Department of Justice should be to, when anybody, including the President of the United States, is under public suspicion, it's now gotten in the public, it's the department's principle and responsibility to clear them quickly if they don't have a basis for a criminal charge, which there's just zero reason to think they do. I don't know if that happens here though, because the special counsel first got to get a staff, got to get an office, probably got to interview everybody who's around who was his staffers in 2008, because then they interview Biden, but you're interviewing the President of the United States. Biden, I think, will sit for that interview, but you're only going to do it once, so you have to have gathered all that information first by the time you have this sort of showdown at noon interview with Biden, all of which means that this, which has now taken on the whiff of scandal, or even more, the whiff ain't going away, and the time will bleed on. And it's one, totally unfair. Every report of this should start with, there's zero reason to think about and that anything criminal has happened, but also, it harms their ability to get their message out for the political and policy things that they're doing. It maybe very much affects Biden's reelection decision, running for reelection decision. It possibly affects, this is a whole topic in and of itself. In fact, we'll be having that. This is the week Talking Feds followers know every quarter the same group of DOJ old hands, Katie Benner, Matt Miller, and Andrew Weissman, collect. And it happens to be this week. It's going to be a very good week, but we'll talk a lot about, does this have any impact on the likelihood of the Trump prosecution? But it's just really, completely circumstantial and unfair and not going away. Okay, there you have it. Big Washington Post article. They dig and get these scoops. And the most important point to me is the White House doesn't do communication strategy that people would suggest in order to play it very straight with the DOJ, get a quick, clean bill of health, and they don't get that. Instead, they get a special counsel. So it's all a mess, and it feels almost happenstance and a shame. Okay, there you have it. There's going to be plenty more. We're going to have new stories twice a week on this kind of thing, like the Washington Post, so there'll be plenty to talk about. And when there is next, I'll be here to talk about it. Until then, talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.